Hello and welcome to Attacking Third. We are fresh out of week 2 and we're ready with the recap for you. I'm Sandra Herrera, joined alongside Christine Cupo and with her blessing, Jen Beattie on the streety. Here, making her Attacking Third on Sunday night's debut. We're so thrilled to have you with us. If you're joining us on YouTube or if you're listening to us as a podcast, if you're catching us on Golazo Network, we want to thank you for joining us here on Attacking Third. We're just happy that you're here with us. Quick reminder that Attacking Third is now on every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern and every Sunday throughout the NWSL season. And we'll be going live after the final whistle of the last match on the NWSL schedule with our biggest takeaways of the weekend that was. And today we're going to talk about our initial reactions from week 2. We've got our biggest takeaways, and we're going to keep our returning segment of NWSL Weekly Best 11 out of week 2. I am so thrilled to chat about it all with you. Jen, how you doing tonight? How you feeling about joining us on Sunday nights?
I'm good. I'm so excited. I feel like I've worked with, you guys before, and I love the network, and I was so pumped. I've been a big fan for a long time, so I'm really excited to get on board and start these awesome chats about an incredible league. So I'm excited.
100%. Cooper, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. I have just been steady watching soccer and football
Non-stop.
alternately, nonstop since probably the middle of last week. Just coasting on vibes here.
100%. And of course, I need to let the people know that Jess McDonald is going to join us shortly to talk about her Ring of Honor experience. And stay tuned for that because it was a lovely, lovely moment to kind of have within the week of events. But we've got a lot of things here to chat about. All 14 clubs in action. We had a handful of games to talk about. But one of the things I think I want to maybe start with is some of the stuff that came out of the Bay FC game, because I'd really like to maybe get your perspective on some of these things here, Jen. This is a
Yeah.
team that is coming off of week 1, where they kind of had their, a little bit we'll just call it a performance out of week 1. It was the week 1 performance. Everyone had them. Some folks were kicking off the preseason rust. Some folks were looking like they're just already the heavy contenders. There were a lot of draws coming out of that week 1 fixture, and they were giving week 1 energy. So for Bay FC to want to go ahead and capitalize maybe on some of those early things that they were building upon into week 2, they end up walking away with a win, a 2-0 win against Louisville with a couple of goals from Anderson and Lima. How important was it to sort of walk away with these points? Because you never want to place maybe too much heavy emphasis on such early games in the season.
100%. But I think for them, it's been so important to build off that momentum from last season. I think to qualify for a playoff spot and be up against, top teams, we really struggled at the start. We found it hard to pick up points, and it's a long season, right? But I think to get off with a draw and a win, I think is unbelievable start from them. Especially changing formation from week to week, seeing them go from a 3 at the back to back 4 at the weekend. But I've been so impressed with them, in all honesty. I think, I'm a big fan of Joelle Anderson. She's one of, the best technical players there. So to see her come in at centre back and fill that role that's not natural to her whatsoever, and then get a goal on top of that. I loved her finish. I thought that was unbelievable, and to get it off the second phase of a corner. So I've been hugely impressed with them. Honestly, I think don't look too much at the draw. I think draws are still okay. You're still in the mixer. It's not a loss. You're still getting points on the board. But no, I've been hugely impressed. The way that they've built on from last season, and it's only their second season in the league, and so to go in strong at 4 points from the first 2 games is a really strong position to be in.
I think we
Yeah,
have to talk about Carly Lima's goal,
We
going
do,
18
yeah,
to 18 essentially off a
yeah,
clearance. Like the pace on that, the
yeah.
lack of hesitation, I'm going to go it myself was not a rookie move. That was insane. My jaw was
No,
literally on the floor. I was like, "Oh, she did that." She said, "I got it. No worries."
yeah.
Uh
I'm
yeah.
glad. I'm
Where
glad
did
you
that
brought
even
it
come
up.
from? Where did that even
I'm
come?
glad.
Like
I'm glad you brought it up because honestly, last season she came to train with us a few times, and genuinely, I would be like, "Who is this kid? Get her signed!" Like she had phenomenal lightning pace, and I mean, she picked up the ball way deep within your own half. So to carry it that far up the field, and then I still think the finish, I'm exaggerating beyond words, but it was beyond 30 yards, 40 yards out. And to hit it literally top corner, having just carried it. I think the reaction from her teammates in the celebration says it all. And no, she's such a good, hardworking kid as well, and totally deserved a pro contract with the team last year, because she came in for some from squad games and massively impressed last season when she did that. So unbelievable to carry the ball that far in up the field is so impressive from a young kid.
I would have been gassed, hands up when I got to like near the box. I would be like, lay it off. I don't have anything to pull back and take that shot. Like Godspeed.
Yeah.
I love that you're noting those performances, Jen, because it's you can never predict that. Like the year 1 to year 2, is there going to be a gap? Is there going to be like this growth spurt? And maybe that's what we're seeing a little bit here. We'd be remiss to not mention maybe some of the other things that happened on the pitch between Bay and Louisville. Unfortunately, Savannah DeMelo was stretchered off of the pitch after experiencing lightheadedness. DeMelo ultimately remained awake and alert en route to a local hospital, with Aaron Morton Racing's medical director and Bev Yanez, the head coach, said that we're thinking of her, and it's never easy to see someone go down that way. So of course we want to extend our best wishes and our thoughts to DeMelo as well. Hopefully that she's on the mend and will be quick to recover, and hopefully she does okay. And then for Louisville, I think for Cupo, I'll go with you on this. Is it how do you come back from something like that? Because you never want to see your teammate go down in any kind of fashion, let alone end up get stretchered off.
Yeah, I think Louisville have had a hard enough time trying to sort of come together to begin with. I had a lot of hope toward the latter part of last season with some reinforcements that they'd get together. So I feel like this is just another disruption to what could be. It's hard because it takes you out of the mental space of we're competing to, oh, I hope Savvy's okay, because especially going off lightheaded, when it's a little bit more of a defined injury where you're like, oh, ankle, calf, something like that, which is a little bit less to worry about. Granted, injuries are never great, but when it's something that's like not diagnosable, where it's just like she feels off, you worry a lot more, especially in modern soccer where we've seen terrible things happen in real time. So yeah, I think it pulls you out of that mentality quicker than you can get back in.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see how this team ends up bouncing back from that. I know they're a team that are looking to try to finally get over that hurdle to kind of call themselves a playoff contending team. And it's still absolutely early enough in the season to kind of go ahead and make any adjustments where you need to go ahead and do that. That wasn't the only game that happened over the weekend. We definitely have to talk a little bit, at least just a little bit, about
I know where you're going. I
North
hate it.
Carolina Courage, and we'll talk about Seattle Reign FC, but we couldn't just talk about this game in any old kind of way. No. We had to have an additional special guest on to talk about this because they were honored in this game. Jess McDonald was honored in the Ring of Honor for North Carolina Courage. What an image. If you're joining us live on YouTube, a retirement jersey or post-playing jersey, we'll let her frame it when she joins us, but it is framed with McDonald number 14, and we've got the baby and the mama kit jersey. You love to see
Patrick,
it.
you cutie pie.
Look, everyone's looking great. Everyone's looking healthy. Everyone's looking happy. You 100% love to see it. You got to find the silver linings, and this was 100% one of those silver linings, I think, for North Carolina's Carolina Courage fans on this day, because unfortunately they had to walk away with a loss on this one. But doesn't hurt to have a legend in the mix. And hopefully she's here to join us to talk all about those experiences. Jess McDonald with us live on A3's. How you doing, Jess?
Oh, I'm good. Just got off the plane not long ago from that crazy whirlwind of a trip, but honestly, what an experience. I thought it was amazing. My closest friends came out who didn't experience North Carolina when I was there originally, and all my mentors who had such an impact, not just on my life, but on my playing career as well. So honestly, the whole thing was just nothing short of amazing.
Congrats, Jess. It's such a high point. Maybe they should have extended the ceremony 90 plus minutes. It would have been a much more feel good event for everyone involved. But little Patrick looks adorable. I'm glad that he got to rock Mama's shirt.
Yeah, I thought that was so cute. That was the smallest one that they had. That thing went down to his ankles, but it was still so cute.
It was like a jersey dress. It was adorable.
It was, yeah.
Like the baby just absolutely pulled it off. How does something like that come to life? Like, this isn't something that's quite common yet. We'll just say yet, because you're a player who has had the experience of playing across different leagues within the United States. You know what it's like to play in those really early days of a WPS, have this league exist at one point, then poof, gone the next, and then have to be part of another league in its early days in NWSL, and then eventually find such incredible success with the club side in the Courage, and just rack up titles, rack up individual accolades, individual moments and highlights. I mean, I could still see your incredible championship moments in Portland, just like incredible goal sellies, right? Jesus paid it all. Just loving all these moments. I can replay them in my head over and over. And so while we're privy to that, we have those memories and we understand, but what does it mean, or what's the significance in that something like a Ring of Honor exists for players from a club, that they can be kind of bestowed with this? Because it isn't really something that we get to see too often in NWSL, but we're seeing it now.
Yeah, to me, I had to explain this to people when I was in Carolina still. Because like when you're a player and you're in it still, you want to speak humbly about yourself. Like, yeah, it's great, but I gave a speech, and I gave a shout out to my son, Jeremiah, my oldest kid. He's 13 years old, and he's 13 years old. So out of the 13 years that I played professionally, 12 of them, I was a single mother to top it off. And so when I look back on my journey from jumping from WPS, the W League, which is now the A League, the early days of the NWSL, just looking back at everything that I had to go through, there were days that I really genuinely wanted to give up playing because, conditions were bad. We weren't being treated the way that we should have as players. Me as a mom, I always had this chip on my shoulder. There were a lot of clubs that I played for that didn't accept me as a mom. The injuries, the setbacks, the trades, everything that I had gone throughout my pro career. I had my kid beside me, and I used him as my inspiration. I didn't want to give up that easily, just because I wanted to inspire him one day. And so going through all of that, because there were more downs than ups. People always just look at my trophies, the rings, the accolades, and I'm like, you have no idea what I went through to get all of that, and it was more setbacks and adversity than it was the successful part. And it's all about the journey. It's all about the process. And so at the end of the day, this is something historical that means the absolute world to me, and it always will. But, this mama, I got to pat myself on the back, because I went through it to get to it, and I got to it. And that's something that no one can take away from me. And I am just overly proud of myself, So after they handed me my flowers last night at the game, it was just like this sigh of relief, basically. And I'm like, I did it. Yeah. I effing did it. I did it. And I pat myself on the back, because it honestly doesn't get any better than that. Just winning at every level that I ever played at, from college, pro, World Cup. Mama gets to hang up her boots, pat herself on the back. I gave my kid a big hug, my oldest, who was there throughout my entire journey. And that's representation of all the moms. It's representation of those who go through crap in their lives, which is everybody. But just with my journey, it just shows that these things that are possible to happen. And so I'm just overly proud of myself. This is legendary, and to be part of a legendary program, getting a Ring of Honor with Sam Mewis. I mean, honestly, it's nothing short of amazing. And, I got to tell myself how damn good of a job that I did. And You know, I was getting teary-eyed. I was getting emotional just because of everything I'd went through. And honestly, it's just a very historical moment. And this is something that I will always let sink in for the rest of my life. And I'm very proud of myself for all of it.
Yes,
You
you should be. I hope you realize that not only do you still have done an entire career on hard mode, right? Also being an excellent mom, which is saying a lot because it requires a lot of selfishness to be a top level soccer player. And then on top of that, we had a record CBA this past season. And you are one of one who definitely contributed to tipping that first domino to show expose where the gaps are that need to be filled so that there are different avenues and choices and autonomy available for future soccer players. So I tip my cap to you always. You deserve more than flowers and a ring of honor. But I hope people realize that. Go look at all of Jess's records that she still got up there. Okay. Like it's 2025. Those aren't going away.
No, not at all. I mean, at least not anytime soon. Doesn't feel like. I think there's always going to be records. Like people say that records are there to be broken, but until they're broken, we're still going to keep talking about the people who hold them. And for us, it's going to be Jess McDonald. Do you have a little bit of time to actually talk about the game with us for a little bit?
Yeah, I could talk about the game, man.
All right.
Yeah,
Look,
we can talk about
give me
it.
a couple minutes because I was like, I can't believe they're out here spoiling the party. Did they not get the memo about the Ring of Honor? I was like, okay, Seattle Ring. It was a 2-1 loss for the Courage on this night. Hard to deny Jess Fishlock playing in her own, making a little bit of her own history. 200th NWSL match, scores just after the half-hour mark, and you tie in Jordan Buggs. Hell of a goal, just absolute banger from distance. And while the Courage did try to make a game of it, I want to ask you, where do you think maybe the game on this night was lost a little bit for the Courage?
Yeah, you know what? I saw the first game, honestly, of the season, and what I think that they're lacking is a front line. They don't have a big dog up top. And I said this in our last episode last weekend that, you know, that's where they're going to continue to struggle throughout the season. I mean, you look at the back line, the goalkeeper. I mean, a few poor giveaways. It's still the beginning of the season from back there, but those are very fixable things, and we know what they're capable of. Same with Casey Murphy. The midfield, pristine. It's that front line getting into that final third. It's like, okay, y'all are getting close to goal. Who's going to be scoring this season? And they inch closer and closer, but there's just not anyone just to put it away. And so I think that's just going to be a struggle for them until they sign someone who is going to be capable of leading that team when it comes to goal scoring, because that final third, it's like, you get the edge of your seat and then you sit right back down, and get into the final third. And so that's what we saw in the first game. That's what we saw in the second game. And then, this was something I was talking about after the game, that they just don't have a big dog up top. They don't have a Barbara Banda. They don't have a Chawinga. I can go on for days about the big dogs that are in this league who play for different teams. And so I think that's just what they need, just a solid 9, someone who's quick, someone who can hold up the ball, someone who's technical, the whole package that you need from a 9 position. And so I think as long as they're sticking with this roster, that's what their struggle is going to continue to be, is in the final third.
Listen, I don't think that's unfair. Look, it's only week 2. We're gonna probably keep saying that it's early in the season, right? Till maybe about 4 to 6 weeks in. But and please correct me if I'm wrong, the former players here. Please, I'm always here to be checked. But I'm just of the opinion or the belief that no, you can't lose a long season this early in the season, but you can definitely try to set yourself up for some later success, especially in a league like NWSL, where things kind of really come down to the nitty-gritty in those kind of final 6 to 4 weeks of the season. Is it how early is too early, Jen, to sort of say, well, North Carolina really have to kind of, make their adjustments where they need to make their adjustments and do it quickly?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And first of all, Jess, just want to massively congratulate you. I couldn't jump in there, but what an honor to receive that accolade and truly deserved, and it was great to see it. For me, talking about NC Courage and how important, starts are at the start of the season, I'll resort back to us at BFC last season. Started pretty poorly, struggled to pick up points early on in the season, and I will say it's one of the most competitive leagues in the world, and teams can really beat each other at any point. But I think momentum is huge in football, and I think morale is massive as well. And I think when you get back-to-back losses or struggling to pick up points or struggling to perform well as a team, that can really feed quite negatively. But with that said, I think that it's all about mentality. It's all about putting a game to bed and understanding what went wrong, and understanding that you have to get onto the training pitch that week and figure out what went wrong. But I do agree with what's been said about the front line and struggling, because I feel like last season as well, Courage were very much this possession-based football, but come the final third, struggled in that sort of getting clear-cut chances, right? Really comfortable on the ball, having the ball for long spells at a time, but the amount of times that teams would counter-attack them and they concede and end up losing. So, but no, to answer your question, I think this season's long, and I think they'll pick up points eventually, but in terms of morale, it's not great for a locker room to continuously be losing back-to-back. It's not great.
I do wonder if, part of all this is the growing pains of getting new faces and positions to click. I think with Jaden Shaw, we maybe saw a little bit of a false nine kind of energy at times there. And I think we can all agree that if, Jaden Shaw isn't getting the ball, getting the touches or getting the looks on it, that maybe that doesn't bode well for the Courage. But I guess that silver lining is that it is just week 2, and maybe there is time to sort of continue to develop that. And we'll see. Maybe this is the game where they're going to take a look at some of those things that worked or didn't work and try to build off of those into week 3. But for the Courage, not only did they honor Jess McDonald in the Ring of Honor, but they set a new home opener attendance record of 8,158. So that was great to see for their opening weekend at home. And the pair of goals that the Reign scored, it actually marks the first time that the Courage conceded multiple goals at home since 2023. So we're talking about, again, records on records, not one that you want to see broken, but it's the little things, right? These are the things that maybe they're going to go back and take a look at and try to tighten up for the week in front of them. And in the meantime, maybe they'll come back with a dub to honor Jess McDonald after honoring her in the Ring of Fire. Oh my goodness, in the Ring of Honor. We want to thank you for joining us, Jess. Thank you for giving us some of your time. You're saying you're coming right off of traveling. We appreciate you hanging out with us on A3 Sunday nights, the recap. Stick with us, everybody. We're going to be back after a quick break to talk more about the NWSL weekend. All right, we're back. We've got more games to get through, and I kind of want to maybe take the remainder of the games and get your guys' biggest takeaways on some of these, because we had some heavy hitters going head to head. I mean, it's no secret that going into this season that we are looking at some teams that we're considering those early contenders, and we're looking at those teams who may or may not be the dark horses. And we're also, unfortunately, looking at those teams we're saying you might have a real long shot here. But again, it's only week 2. It's only week 2. But as far as let's see some of the games for us to touch on, whether it's Spirit, or Angel City and Portland, or Orlando and Gotham. If you're just joining us on Sunday night, you're probably coming off of that game, or Chicago and Houston. Cupo, do you have a big takeaway from either of those games you just want to bite into right at the moment?
I think for me, at least, it's got to be top of mind is San Diego Wave and Utah. Utah obviously were kind of floundering last season, looking a little bit better this season. However, my focus is actually on the San Diego Wave because they, for me, were a big question mark coming into the season, having essentially flipped almost the entire team, including a manager. They had a couple of interims toward the latter part of last season. Jonas Eidevall coming in after resigning from Arsenal. I was wondering how he'd fare in NWSL. And I know it's only week 2, but right now, I'm like possibly overly optimistic, but I think it's all positive. I think we're seeing a lot of good out of San Diego Wave, things that we didn't maybe see last season that I know were trying to be implemented, them trying to figure out when they should and shouldn't be playing direct. Um, just different tactically. They're a little bit more together as a team. Their passing is a little bit clean. Adriana Leon is an excellent addition. And Delphine Cascarino,
Let's
like she
go.
put in a shift. I'm like, you know what? I don't think we got to see the best of her, and this will be the season for it.
Let's go.
I couldn't agree more with you there, Cupo. I thought Cascarino stood out for me by a country mile so much, but I was also so intrigued to see how Eidevall would get on in this league, and especially when he resigned from Arsenal. The first thing I thought was he'll love this league, and I think he'll really do well with it. So when I saw he got the Wave job, I was like, let's go. He's going to do great, and I think he gives that really lovely balance between knowing when to attack, exactly what you're saying, and knowing when to keep the ball. He's to go from Arsenal to the NWSL. That's like the perfect blend, and I feel like Wave, have got the players. I think Leon was, a great recruitment to make before the season started. Daly, he knows really well from playing against Aston Villa, obviously, a lot in the WSL as well. So I was always so intrigued and genuinely was massively impressed with them at the weekend. I thought, of course, I know that they conceded 2 against Utah, which wasn't great, but I thought from back to front, they looked strong. I thought they were moving the ball really well. And I think Eidevall would be pretty impressed with what he saw from his team. And he'll know as well that this season's long and it's about progression, but to pick up points and mainly based on the performance of doing really well, I thought it was great to see. I thought Cascarino was next level. I'm like, she's gonna be one to watch this season for me for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that she's going to be the one out of the entire squad that is the most benefited from Jonas, his style, his managerial sort of eye, or do you think there's a few standouts that will benefit from this?
I think he'll love working with a player like that when he's huge on sustained attacks. He was so clever at working with forwards of how to keep the ball in key areas of the field so that it doesn't become super transitional, right? We want to keep the ball more and higher up the field, and with forwards knowing when to press, knowing when to just sit back and see what you're seeing, see what the other team's doing, and knowing when to absolutely go. He was really clear at getting that across to players and really good at simplifying little bits of information like that. So I feel like a lot of teams will benefit from him. I genuinely think he's a perfect blend between possession based and really attacking, forward thinking football, which players in that team will absolutely love.
Okay, there's some parts of this though. Yes, I'm in agreement with what we've been discussing so far. I think this is a really great start for the Wave. I think it's an even better start for Jonas. I think there's always going to be a little bit of that caveat where you see maybe a coach coming over from Europe, like how quickly are they going to adapt to NWSL? Like, is there going to be a gap? Like, are they going to have a couple hiccups along the way? And maybe those will come. But for now, in the opening 2 weeks, I think there's more positives for the Wave than there are anything else. But I do wonder, like, this was quite the game, I think, for neutrals, if you're looking at it. I mean, we got 5 goals in this one. It ends up being a 3-2 scoreline. Wave just etching out that win where they almost looked like they were gonna drop points. And I think if you're Utah Royals, you got to wonder where do you go from here? Because they were one of those teams that scrapped out some points out of week 1. And I think we were eager to see, hey, maybe they're going to build on that, because for a lot of folks out there, a lot of pundits, maybe Utah are kind of riding that dark horse kind of energy. But in a game like this, where they kind of drop all the points, you kind of wonder, well, are they actually kind of trending in the right direction? I mean, there was a window of time here where they nab a couple of goals in like an 8 or 9 minute span, getting a goal, Mina Tanaka getting a goal, but then just when they level things, the Wave come right back just 2 minutes later and end up getting this game winner from Corley. And I think in a week where we were just praising McGlynn for the playing out of the back and Coonrantz and Coach Coonrantz for trying to say, go out there, be brave, play out the back, it kind of bit them a little bit, Cupo, in this one.
It did. Listen, here's the thing. My takeaway for Utah presently is they actually have some really good attacking quality on this side. They just need to shore things up defensively. And I think it will come together. I think they now have the benefit of having Coonrotz there for a full preseason now rather than coming in as an interim and then seeing them out the rest of the season. But yeah, McGlynn is going to have to just, I don't know, threaten the back line, get something together. I don't know what else to do, man. I'm not a defender. I was terrible. They would hate me too. But I don't know. I think it takes time, but the chemistry will surely build. It has to, right? Like, is there the option of them to all do like an escape room or something together?
Wait, I love escape rooms. So good.
Well, A3 escape room after dark. Well,
yeah, just an attacking third escape room. Heard it
Jen,
here.
what are you saying after a game like that, Jen? That on the defensive shape side of things, what are you telling your back line?
No, I love what you said after, when your team scores 2 goals to level it up, and all you have to do in those moments is manage it, right? Understand that, okay, we're back in it. We've leveled it up. We were down to 0, got 2 goals back in, and the last thing you want to do is all you have to focus on is shape and structure and making sure everyone's disciplined for the next sort of 5-10 minutes. So to lose the leveler really quick after that, I think that's massively disappointing. But I come from a place I will always want to play out from the back, right? I'm always encouraging my goalkeeper, but it's just a bit of a gift in that sense. And you never want to see, I would always encourage it no matter what. But you just have to recognize if we've just leveled it and it's 2-2, maybe we go long for a couple of minutes. Maybe we turn them for a couple of minutes just to get that safety net, that confidence back, and just breathe, right? Just settle the game down. And when it comes a little bit chaotic, if you're trying to overplay at the wrong spells of a game, that's for me, it's management. But that comes from communication between players and so many things like that. So yeah, I was a little bit gutted for them getting back into the game and then losing it so quickly.
I hear you. I think one of the other games that we were looking at, maybe for Wave in Utah, we were like looking at it as this game of, okay, who's the team that's going to show us a little bit of what they got? And I think on the other like side of the pendulum swing, you've got like the two big dogs kind of going at it. We've got a game against Orlando Pride on the road against Gotham, and who's going to kind of come out on top of this one? These are two teams that found themselves making deep playoff runs last year, and obviously the Pride with the titles to show for it. But in these early days of the season, you wonder, hey, maybe there's going to be a mix up or a shake up here. Biggest takeaways for you, Cupo, coming out of this game?
Okay, my lukewarm take out of this game is that I don't think that Orlando have any real weaknesses, but they didn't really show any strengths this game either. When you look at how the goals were scored this match, it was off of a pen, Jess Carter making a bonehead foul in the box that Marta managed to get that pen. Fair, that's technique. And Lily Reel, who at the second fastest own goal in league history, very unfortunate way to start a game. And then Gotham just weren't able to turn back around. There was just a lot of disjointed passing. I think it was Shapansky who, I'll say, this is my weird hill that I'll die on. I hate a back heel. 9 times out of 10, it goes nowhere. Okay. Or you end up turning the ball over and nothing good happens. But for the sake of the beauty of playing, once in a while, there's like a ooh moment. And I guess that's what she was going for. That led to that entire turnover that caught Angelina carrying deep into Gotham's final third. And from there, I just feel like they did negate each other, but it wasn't the most beautiful game that Orlando have ever played.
I think that's fair. But look, I think that's also maybe not only is it fair, I think maybe it's a little bit expected. And when you're looking at the two teams who are going head to head,
I think Gotham is still a team in flux because they're definitely not the team they were last season. They have some figuring out to do. Juan Carlos Amaros went crazy with the subs. I think Mac and one other player were the only ones left on the bench of those available. I don't think it served anything. I think it was just like, hey, get some minutes. But they don't look as confident as they previously have in the last 2 seasons. And it's warranted.
Yeah, I think I think that's fair. I think for me, in terms of the Sunday night matches, I actually went to Chicago's home opener and watch them take on the Dash, and there was a little bit of the kind of who's going to show me what energy out of this one, because I think there's a lot of teams that I had put in my piece on .com who are the long shots. I think there's a little bit of a gap kind of showing itself in NWSL, and it's something that I'm paying attention to in 2025, where we've got these handful of teams that we kind of feel like deep down are going to be those contenders, and then this gray area where anything can happen. And then you have this other category where you're like, sure, this team could be eighth, and maybe that's a compliment, but it's also really kind of not. And I do wonder, when I saw these two teams go to take it on head to head, I was like, who's going to show me something here? And I think at the very least, like, the Dash is showing me that maybe, just maybe, they can go ahead and compete for an eighth seed and make their way, sneak into the playoffs. At the very least, they are showing that Chicago is still struggling to kind of get their ideas down into it. We saw a little bit that the Stars went ahead and tried to press a little bit in the beginning, which was a pleasant surprise for me, but you just saw them kind of fade a little bit out over the stretch of the remainder of a game. And the Dash, at the very least, are showing that they've got some principles that they're trying to establish, a team identity that they're trying to show. So I have to imagine in a long season that will eventually continue to kind of iron itself out. As far as any other games or any big takeaways that you have from this weekend that you'd like to touch on, Jen, what do you want to hit us with tonight?
I would probably just go as far as saying I think Orlando 2 clean sheets is really strong, right? And I think ultimately that's kind of why it might not be the most exciting game when you're looking at Gotham, because I think they have a very strong defense as well. And when it comes to two teams that don't concede a lot of goals, naturally that's going to happen. I think Raffaele, I'm a big fan of Raffaele, teammates over at Arsenal for a number of years, and it's been awesome to see her back to full fitness and in flow back in the Orlando team. And I think she's going to be huge for them this year. Big fan of Raffaele, but I think Orlando, 2 clean sheets, they're always going to score, whether it's a PK or a scrappy one. That's what they do. They break teams down, and when you've got Marta on your team, to add that bit of flair. So for me, 2 clean sheets for Orlando, that's a solid start.
Anna Morehouse shouts.
Yeah.
England call up win.
Another one.
Yeah.
Get another one. Let's go.
Maybe she back heels.
I know we're watching. Someone
That's it. Never mind. I take it back. I rescind my vote.
I love it. I will also say, before we break and go to the final segment, for Thorns and Angel City, they managed to squeeze out a draw. And I think when you take a look at the table, kind of going into week 3, everyone, with the exception of Chicago Stars FC, have managed in some capacity to scrap out some points in the opening 2 weeks of the season. And I think for Portland Thorns and I think for Angel City, again, teams that I have in my category of long shots to try to figure things out over a long season, it was very important for them to try to go ahead and get some points. The energy where it was like, you either have to beat the crap out of the other one and take them all, or you definitely aren't leaving here without something. And it was really cool to see some really good goals from Raylan Turner for the Thorns and Kennedy Fuller for Angel City. But we have to maybe shout out some individual performances, and we're going to do that in our best 11 coming out of week 2. Stick with us after a quick break. All right. Don't harp on us just yet, because maybe you're wondering if we're not giving Kansas City Current enough love, or if we're not talking about the Spirit too much. I have a funny feeling we're going to be talking about some of their players in this final segment, because we have to talk about players that we want to put on our best 11 out of week 2. Cupo, I'm going to give you the honors of kicking us off.
I could go anywhere, or I'm relegated to like a certain line.
You can go anywhere where your heart desires. It's Sunday night. No Sunday scaries here. Just do what makes you feel right.
Okay. So, this is so hard because Kansas City. No. Chawinga, because I'm taking her no matter what. Um, I gotta go Banda as well
Yep.
because I'm greedy and selfish and I like goals.
Yeah.
No, I feel like they're two of the hardest to actually like put any kind of defense on, if at all. You kind of just pray and stand and hope that your body gets in the way. Um, and I think I have to say, can I do two at the top and then do
Yeah.
goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll go Anna Morehouse.
Okay. Adam Morehouse holding it down, holding it down. Look, hard to ignore two clean sheets for sure. Look when we did best 11 out of week 1, I went with Morehouse in the back as well because there's the argument that like her team put up 6 big ones on the Stars. So what are you doing, giving it to Morehouse? But I mean, she did have to face a certain number of crosses, a certain number of entry passes.
Listen, you don't get to select the teams that you play, but right now they're also, I
exactly.
think, tied with 8 goals in first 2 weeks is tied with the like record in NWSL.
And my counter argument to that would be like in those kind of games, it's actually super hard to keep it turned on all the time.
Right.
If your team is just like going off and doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on your Anna Morehouse pick for goalkeeper. Jen, I'm gonna ask if you want to like finish fleshing out the back line. Who are maybe some defenders that stood out for you out of week 2?
I'm a big fan of Jordan Bug. I think she's gonna be awesome this year, and we have to talk about her goal. Like it was that's a center back's dream. That is a center back's dream. Ball comes out, you come on and absolutely smash it. Like that is, I don't know how many yards out that was, but I heard Harvey's
I think
a
it
big
was, what is
fan.
it, 40 yards or something?
It's
It was something
insane.
ridiculous.
Insane. Yeah. I hope she's watched that back multiple times and enjoyed every one of them. But yeah, big fan. And then Raffaele, obviously spoke about it already, but you talk about Anna Morehouse and clean sheets, but I think I'm not going to pick up the centre backs, but you got to keep the chances down to a minimum and protect your goalkeeper. And like exactly what you're saying, Sandra, for Anna Morehouse, be sharp when you do get to make those big saves because they might not come as often if you've got a strong back line ahead of you. So I'm going to start with those two. Okay, but I don't know if you want to add anything to it. I was happy with your front three, I will say, but I would put Carly Lima. I liked her in the front three. And Cascarino.
Yeah, that's a good shout for this. It's very hard to.
Yeah, Cascarino was.
Cascarino, I could be swayed. I could be swayed. Yeah, Cascarino would be the one.
Yeah.
We might just have to do this in a way where it's like, okay, here's our back line, here's our goalkeeper, and here's our front 6, and like just go like
I mean, is that
midfielder and the rest go?
That's like every single pickup game ever because everybody wants to play up top. You're like, anybody? No, nobody. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think the other side of things, like I think we're all in agreement that like we're gonna keep Morehouse there, but I think you wonder like the other clean sheets that are coming out of this week. I mean, we're talking about the current with Chawinga up top. So Chawinga's got 2 goals in 2 games already. The repeat Golden Boot is off to a potentially great start here. But Lorena and the current end up walking away with a clean sheet as well. So maybe there's an argument there, or maybe there's an argument to say that some of their backline players should make and round out our best 11, whether it's maybe someone from the center back pairing of Sharples and Cook for the current to kind of make sure that they get some recognition in this one. So I think maybe I'll lean into to Sharples for this one. I like what she was doing, but I think there's, even though Gotham came away with a loss, I mean, it's hard to ignore what like Emily Sonnet has been doing for Gotham. So that's been incredible. And I think just because we desperately need some midfielders in this best 11, I gotta give some love to Lola Bonta 100% this week, walking away with converting a goal, and of course a great goal
Sandra,
celebration.
That one slide tackle that she did, 2-footed, so clean. I stood up for that alone. I was like, yeah, Lo, okay, run that back. We need more replays, more angles.
There's crunch. There's crunch and there's like casual crunch. And I just love that from Labonta for sure. I think for me, I think coming out of week 1, I also was like I was super high on Rebecca Bernal, and I was like, yes, like this is a player that's going to be a little bit X factory for the Spirits, and maybe with her Challenge Cup appearance, we'll get to see her get a start. And we saw her get the start in the back line. So I'm curious if maybe we eventually get to see her again in that midfield. I don't know. We'll see.
I
Jen,
legitimately thought without Hal that we might get to see her slide into the midfield
I
that
did
way.
too.
And I had my fingers crossed because I've been saying this since the signing happened.
There's
So I'm holding out hope.
there's a stay tuned energy with Bernal for sure. Jen, do you have more midfielders for us?
Debinha has to be.
Oof.
Debinha for me, like she puts balls on the plate for her forward. She's a dream for a forward to have balls being played through, and she was doing that all day at the weekend. And even I think she had 3 players around her at one point. Still gets a shot away. Beyond impressive, so consistent as well. Always turns up no matter what game it is. So for me, Debinha, she hugely impressed me this weekend, and does all the time anyway. But for me, it's their quality of that final pass that you need in the final third, no matter how much space she has. She's got the quality and such a technical player. And again, to hold off three people to get a shot away, I thought was so impressive. So she's in my midfield.
Absolutely. The contenders are contending. Like
Strong.
Orlando Pride and the Current are like coming out of week 2 and they're like, yes, it's us. It's
Yeah.
us. And I'm sure the Spirit are going to like feel some type of way to have not, got a result out of this particular matchup, but they're going to meet again. The season is long in front of them for sure. But it's so wild to think about us putting together these kind of best 11s week to week to week, because there's such good individual performances across the board. I mean, like we're also of the argument that maybe we're not even talking enough about like the performance from Martha tonight for the Pride, right? Let alone Ali Watt, who has another second consecutive week of just somehow being everywhere, like all at once, like absolute pest of a pest energy.
She never stopped.
tonight.
She started last season and never turned off. She just seamlessly started this season just being a menace. And I love that for her.
Let's keep it going. Make sure if you are joining us or listening along, you let us know your own preferences for players to make attacking thirds week 2 best 11. But that's going to be it in terms of recapping the recap of all things week 2. I had an absolute blast tonight. Any final thoughts from the two of you before we close out the show?
I had fun. This went way too fast. Not
Yeah.
like, it's fine. We'll be back. But no, this was a good one.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. It was fun to make my debut, but I will completely agree. It's going to be hard to pick a best 11 every weekend because there are some awesome players in this league.
I also feel like there's so many
excited.
rookies that are coming up that like show out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, what about her?
She's in my team. She's in my 11. She's up.
Don't worry about it. We're getting it in there for sure. Yeah, I love everybody dropping the recommendations. My final thought is going to be on a bit of a sentimental bit. I lost someone very close to me over the weekend in a battle to cancer. So I just want to say rest in peace to my godfather. He was Attacking Third's biggest fan. He has been with us since the early days of our show, where it was just me and Lisa just rambling into microphones into the abyss. And I'm heartbroken, and I don't have a lot of words for it, but something really cool for our producer. Mark actually made some really fun stickers for Attacking Third, and they were just for VIPs only. Like some of the talent only received them. And when I got mine, I absolutely had to go ahead and give that to my padrino. And he was so excited when he got this random sticker promoting Attacking Third, and he put it on his everyday work mug, and he always took it with his Yeti wherever he went. And whenever people were talking about the sticker or the logo or anything like that, he was always putting on his best propaganda, Attacking Third propaganda speech, and always telling people to tune in whenever they could. And even if he didn't always know what the schedule was for Attacking Third, didn't matter, because we are always on all the time in all the places. And Attacking Third has grown to such ridiculous heights at this point. We're a show that is on multiple times a week. We have special guests joining us whenever we can, like Jen or Jess. We have studio shows, we have internet shows, we have incredible people working in our social media who make sure that our social channels are always up to speed on things. So I just wanted to send him a special hello as he's going to be with us in spirit now. And I just absolutely want to thank everybody for always supporting Attacking Third. So thanks everybody for joining tonight, and make sure you like, subscribe, follow Attacking Third wherever you find us on all your podcasts and all our social media channels, and make sure you tune in with us on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight.
Love you, chat.